it to the Soviets, and therefore we cannot make a change. It's an international agreement. You know, the amount of, but then he asked a lot of questions. What happens if you come down in orbit? What happens if you go up in orbit? And what happens if you change the inclination positively, negatively? And a host of such issues. But what it also shows, one important thing you asked about the culture, the top man is so much seized with the technology, techniques and engineering details. He was not just peripheral.
Yeah.
So he will bring in fresh ideas into the engineering issues or technological issues or scientific issues, the top man. And you have to be ready to answer this, which means every level we will demand the same thing from the next fellow. The next fellow will demand it from his. So it is a very beautiful way in which it percolates, this professionalism and an absolute understanding of the details. You don't just surf through the top, skim through the top and say that I have already understood the problem. Nothing is allowed in ISRO because you don't know who is going to ask what type of questions at what time, and especially the top man is very much seized with the problems. So this is Professor Dhawan.
So doctor, actually ISRO is like an icon of India now. You know, you go anywhere and people will say, oh, this is the country which has the capability to send mission to moon. And this is possible only because of this single organization, which has all this culture and the leadership has contributed to it. Also, very interestingly, you just mentioned that you talked about this solar mission, the lunar mission, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, and now it's a reality when Manmohan Singh is the Prime Minister. So, successive political leadership, right, from Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi till the present Prime Minister. All Prime Ministers have contributed towards it, so political leadership has supported it. So, it's a unique model.
That's right.
In which politics has supported professionalism has taken this organization to newer heights, and the people are so motivated and who can really make a difference to the world. Do you think is it something replicable in the rest of the world? I mean, some other organizations, can it be done?
I think it is so. Especially, I should say, the science and technology in this country is not politics directed or inspired. It is purely dictated by the scientists who would like to do work and demonstrate to the country that they are doing something worthwhile. And that worthwhileness, if you can demonstrate unambiguously to the political system, they trust you, they accept it, and they support you. I have found this all across. That's the greatness of this country. Even today I can say, even under financial crisis and other things, science has not suffered in terms of funding.
So the art of politics has not touched the science of science and technology.
No.
So that's a good thing that has happened. And all it has happened, it has helped the science and technology.
It has helped the science and technology.
So I think we'll continue talking to you. We'll take a short break and we'll talk about science and technology a little more in detail. Okay. So this is Dr. Kasturirangan. We are talking to him about science and technology. Don't go away. We'll come back soon. This is Suresh Prabhu waiting for you to come back. Welcome to Top Shot. We are talking to Dr. Kasturirangan, former chairman of ISRO, about how we managed to send a mission to moon and the issues related to that. Doctor, you have made us really proud. But just tell me, some people always feel that sending a mission to moon is waste of money. Why should we invest money into something like this? First, India is a poor nation. We have got more than 40% people living below poverty line. And whether science is something which is an elitist subject, not related to common man's problem, particularly the remote sensing, GIS, issues like that, because remote seems to be so remote that common man cannot sense it.
That's true.
So, tell me, what is the relationship between this science that we are trying to develop and solving common man's problem?
First of all, I should say that Chandrayaan, I'll come back to this because I think we should see the Chandrayaan in the right perspective. You in some sense raised this with the question that you have posed to me. And that is, Chandrayaan is a mission which can be construed as a scientific mission because it caters to the curiosity of the scientific community of this country and the world. And there is this fundamental question of the origin and evolution of the moon which is still not answered. And hidden in those secrets of that evolution and the origin of the moon is the secret of the origin of the earth itself. Okay. And we need to understand our planet much better if we have to manage the planet. So there is science in it, but the science will
ultimately... common man's own interest. Because
the common man's
living on the earth and he doesn't know how the earth was evolved over a period of time, how will he going to live?
It's an absolutely fundamental question. So the science is not all that esoteric, I should say. It has a lot of relevance to the society. At the bottom, as a bottom line, I can say science enriches the society. And when you talk of enrichment of a society, it says that the society is well informed about issues and things, and the society is able to make critical assessment of various development. There is a scientific temper you bring into that, and that scientific temper in a society is evaluated by how far the society is advanced in science. That is how the humankind looks at it across the world. So India cannot be left out in science, first of all, I should say. When you talk of being a world power, superpower and all that, and if you cannot even do a mission to moon in this phase of the humankind's development, I think we better be written off. Let us not try to worry too much about being a superpower and all that. But I think there is something very fundamental to this. So the question is enrichment of the society is science. Technologically, Chandrayaan provides one order of magnitude bigger challenges in engineering. And when you have a country working on the frontiers of for cutting edge of a technology, like for Chandrayaan, it sends several signals. This country can develop any kind of technology and any kind of complex system it can conceive and execute. This is what the world will see. So what you calibrate the country, you benchmark the country in terms of science ability, technological capability. When you succeed in Chandrayaan, you send the right message that people can be brought together, they can work as a team, they can tackle a very complex science, engineering, technology problem, and they can achieve all it within the limited funds and the time available to them, and show to the world that we are no less or we are even more innovative than the rest of the world. So that is the message on this technology. Third, tomorrow we are going to do, we are not going to stop here. And as I said, Vajpayee wanted it to be Chandrayaan 1 and he wanted it to be a series. So he had a vision, and I'm sure the present government is equally seized with this kind of requirements and opportunities. Now we have to do that, we need global collaboration, because there is a limit to which we can put our own resources, whether it is manpower or whether it is finances, in trying to push this program. But the global community, which is involved in going to be working in the planetary exploration in the 21st century, how will they choose partners? You have to show proven credentials, you have to show. Yeah. So unless you have shown that you have done something you are capable of doing, they won't take you as your team partner. So we have now established our credential that if there is going to be a global push in this particular area, certainly India cannot be left behind, because India is a power to reckon with and a capable country to reckon with. This also brings in another thing. You know, we exploded the nuclear device in 1974. They said if you had done it in 1967, you are a member of the nuclear weapon state. If it is not, then we had to struggle for so many decades before we signed this deal. So you can see the amount of isolation India went through just because we didn't do a right thing at the right time. 1974 was too late. If you had done the same thing in Antarctica and we didn't explore the Antarctica and establish a scientific station there, they would have told you that you are not a part of an Antarctican expedition. Keep your hands off from there. We avoided it by going and setting up in Dakshin Gangotri a camp and made sure that we have pitched our tent there. Tomorrow, the same nations can say that you have not demonstrated capability to reach moon or planets. So when the global community, which is capable of doing the select club, decides to do that, you say, no, you keep off from here, you are not reached to that level, and you are not demonstrated by such and such a time, so you will not be a part of this great humankind.
So it's an act of inclusion.
It is act of inclusion, you said it. So you need to do this. A country which has aspiration to be a global power has to do these things at the right time, the right thing. If we don't do it and if we vacillate on it, I think we will lose the bus. It's a very dangerous thing. We should recognize this, and therefore supporting these kind of mission is a national responsibility in the global context.
In fact, this national renaissance, which really comes with so many aspects of it. You excel in sports, you excel in economy, you excel in social sector, you excel in science and technology. All these go hand in hand. So if India doesn't try to do this now, probably will be actually not be part of that renaissance process.
That's
in which
right.
we can come. Right. Doctor, this is, as a nation, I fully appreciate what he's saying. Tell me from the common man's perspective, how the remote sensing will help him in solving day-to-day problems.
So, so what happens is science puts demands on technology. Technology becomes a tool to do better applications. So today, India has developed a very, very world-class, sophisticated set of satellites for looking at the Earth, which you call as the remote sensing. We take photographs. These satellites have a capability from 1 kilometer resolution to something like better than a meter.
Oh.
So there is a whole host suite of resolution. Our cameras, 6 or 7 satellites are currently operating, and without boasting ourselves, I should say that we operate the world's largest constellation of most sophisticated civilian satellites today. It's not America and it's not Europe, it's India. So that is the high-tech capability that we have built over the time. Now, what does it do? Is it only a technical bonanza for the country? I don't think so. You ask this question, what does it do to the common man? If you take a satellite imagery, it's an information, geospatial information about a large area. You look at it with synopticity, you look at it with different wavelengths of the electromagnetic spectrum, which distinguishes different features on the ground. You can revisit the same place much faster than ever you can do with any other kind. So you have a temporal capability. All these builds up into looking at a resource issue in a very unique fashion, the like of which has never been done without a space system. So that's where the remote sensing comes into picture. Now, how India has put it. India, right from the beginning, I said Vikram Sarabhai recognized the vantage point of space as being unique to this country in the context of national development. He didn't look at it as an extension of the Cold War era, which Americans and the Soviet Union did. They wanted to snoop on each other's country. They flew remote sensing satellite for that. But in India, he saw that the remote sensing satellite has a more unique thing. Our timely, accurate and precise information about natural resources. We have limited resources, we have large population. So we need to match these in terms of an optimal approach to managing resources. That's where the satellite systems provide a unique capability. Let me take few examples. Take the case of drinking water, and I know you are one of those persons in this country who is very well versed with the water-related issues. What are the water-related issues? First, you have to provide water, drinking water to every village, which means there is in the first national drinking water mission, you put even a condition that within 1.24 kilometers or so, there should be a location for drinking water which should be available to a village. So this was an objective of that. Now, how do you see, how can you find out a place where you can have a well, if it is not surface water, if it is a groundwater, how do you do that? Satellites have a unique ability to look at the geomorphological features. You know, the groundwater is a part of a geological phenomena and subterranean ducts. Now, to understand the subterranean ducts, you need to look at the large-scale geological features on the surface. The large-scale geological features, what I mean is hundreds of kilometers to 1,000 kilometers. Those faults and lineaments are more easily discernible in a synoptic view than by looking at from the ground. You can never see a fault and lineament by standing on the ground. So that's where the importance of looking from the space of a geological feature comes in. Use that information, look at the hydrological information, look at the geomorphological information. All these are can be culled out of a satellite image. Add to it all the topographic sheet, topo sheets and all that. Then you create a geographic information system, a multi-layered information system. And you model the system, and here emerges potential locations of groundwater from that multi-layered geographic information system. It tells you if you drill a well here, you have a high probability of hitting water below because of all the parameters match there, and those parameters are derived mainly from the satellite images.
And no common man can survive without water.
And 95 to 98% success when you drill or using this information. If I do it with water diviner or even any other conventional method, the success rate is only 40-45%. So you can see it doubles when you use satellite maps. And economics, you a single borewell, how much does it cost? 50,000 rupees? Yeah. And so if you can avoid drilling one waste borewell, you know the economics when you talk of lakhs of, this is what satellite has done for drinking water.
But doctor, this is something, if for example, we didn't have this technology developed, then it will not be able to apply it for meeting common man's problem like drinking water.
Absolutely.
And probably to develop the technology, you also need to test it with the best in the world, and that's why you need to send even your mission to the moon to find out whether it is all
you
fine.
Said it, yes.
So basically there's a relation between moon and the man. There's a relationship between water and the technological development.
Science, technology you connect to application you connect it to the lower grassroots level requirement. I'll take another case, forestry. We know forest wealth, every 8 to 10 years we used to make a mensuration of the forest. Today, satellite systems provide you every 2 years the state of forest wealth of this country, and they even place a report of it in the parliament. In fact, there is a mandatory requirement.
And nobody disputes that finding.
Nobody disputes that.
Because
And
so
today, that has enabled not only to know the forest well, how do you optimally manage the forest,
and also what is the crown density of that forest.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it is 40%, 100%, 90%, or whether it is just a scanned forest, whether it's a deciduous forest, all that is known only because of satellite imagery.
That's
But Doctor, this point you mentioned that US and Russia, at that time USSR, were fighting Star Wars, and just for supremacy over the sky.
Together, yes.
Whereas we are always thinking about for peaceful purposes,
uses,
for development
right,
purposes.
right.
Like we are saying, even nuclear technology we want for peaceful purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to destroy anybody. Right. Where this thought comes in, is it something as a part of our ancient thinking, or is it something as a political discourse? Where is this something which is emanating?
I think I have also often wondered how does it come. But if you look at the two examples, the atomic energy program and the space program, I think both came out of two visionaries in the country. Their job was, that is where what do you call as a visionary? You look at a country's problem. You keep on wondering. You are a scientist, so you are not a manager. So you start wondering, how can science play a role in a particular issue? Then keep continuously watching what is happening in the world of science and technology. Suddenly a satellite goes up on October 4, 1957, and there is a vantage point of space now which is accessed by the humankind. Immediately the mind of Sarabhai goes in, how can I use it for my country? And where all it can be used. So he's thinking of education, yes, I can have an outreach. Communication, I can connect different parts. Remote sensing, I can bring in timely information about nature. All this is now possible because now we have an access. So let us now think of a space program with us. So newer dimensions of technology, they are always able to marry with the ground demands, the grassroots demands of a development of this country. So this is vision. So this was Baba saw. Atomic energy program, the moment you knew that the atom's power can be harnessed, he declared in Geneva, in that famous meeting about the atomic energy, that India has the greatest potential of exploiting the atomic energy for its meeting its burgeoning power needs. And then he said, we have also vast thorium deposits, nearly 40% of the world's deposit. So if I can ultimately create a nuclear cycle, a three-phase nuclear cycle, I can become totally self-reliant.
That was so many years ago.
So many.
50,
and today we talk about it,
yeah,
and in the context
so
of
that's a vision. But Dr. Just my last point, unfortunately we are running out of time. Is it all sustainable, such organizations like ISRO, organizations like TIFR, organizations like BARC and all, who are really centers of excellence in their own way? But this is all possible if we get there is a system whereby we can get people, the best brains into the system. There has to be a catchment area. If there is no catchment area, you can't have upstream and downstream water.
Absolutely.
Now, is the science and technology atmosphere in India, is it conducive to growth of such organization, or now we really need to have a serious relook into some of these issues wherein best of talent has to be attracted towards such science and technology?
I think it's an important issue. There has been a period during the boom in the IT sector that there was a fear that not many are being drawn into the science and technology. First of all, I want to correct an impression that the numbers that we are looking for in science and technology is the same as what we are looking in IT, which every year recruits 100,000 people. We need few hundreds to few thousand. It's possible to detect them, track them, mentor them, and convert them into competent scientists.
So it is still possible to do it?
It is still possible, and there are institutions coming up now and earlier which were there like IITs and IISCs. This will certainly
really
take care of it.
look forward, Dr. Kasturirangan. I'm sorry we are running out of time.
Right. But it's great speaking to you, Suresh.
And maybe next time we'll not meet here, probably we'll have your interview conducted on the moon. So we can talk a little longer without constraint of time and space. Maybe we'll do that soon. But thank you very much for joining this program, and I hope that we'll have more ISROs to be created in the next few years' time. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Kasturirangan.
Thank you very much, Suresh.
So Dr. Kasturirangan, who is now giving us a very optimistic view about the future of India based on science and technology, the scientific temper. Let's look at that future and let us hope that will happen sooner than later. So this is Suresh Prabhu bidding you goodbye in Top Shot. Thank you.